Marimar Martinez could have been my sister, my cousin, or any family member on their way to church, who they think they're going to have a regular day, go to their church where they find sanctuary, and then go about their day. Marimar's life was changed forever. We have seen the Sage in Chicago for a very long time. And if you ask people in Chicago, the rapid responders, the people in the streets with whistles and phones, what they saw in Minnesota was inevitable, because we have an agency of terror that calls U.S. citizens domestic terrorists. They try to execute them, and then they lie about it.
Jacob, just watching this forum today, I think the word is right. It was harrowing. It was something that when it was on the screen, it felt like we were watching a Truth and Reconciliation Commission from a despotic nation that had undergone decades of human rights abuses. That's what it reminded me of. Is this coming from Chile under Pinochet? Is this coming from South Africa during apartheid? That's what it felt like. Congressman Garcia, he had this exchange when he was talking about the text messages that were sent after an incident. Take a listen.
Ms. Martinez, these are images of texts sent by the agent who shot you. And they're actually disturbing to read, but I think it's important for the public to see this. The agent linked an article about your shooting and texted, "Read it. 5 shots, 7 holes. I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Put that in your book, boys." Oh, well, it is what it is. It happens. This is someone that works for the United States government.
And that's where I come to you. This is someone who does work for the United States government. This is someone who's supposed to put the laws of this country at the forefront of their job to ensure our peace and our prosperity. And it seems now as if Americans are under attack.
We bleeped it, but let's just say what it said. The text said, "Shit happens." These were agents of the federal government who shot someone 5 times and bragged about it making 7 holes in Miss Martinez's body. And maybe you've been living under a rock. I doubt the people that are watching us right now have been. But if you had any question about what was happening on the streets of the United States, if they were targeting this administration, the so-called worst of the worst, it's obvious by watching today that this was anything but. This is wide scale. It is indiscriminate. And it is targeting American citizens. Ms. Rahman, the story she told was not just that she was going to an appointment, her 39th appointment for a traumatic brain injury. And she told the story of being ripped out of her car. A combat knife, she said, was used to cut off her seatbelt. She said she is autistic and couldn't follow the instructions of the agents. But in her words, and I'm paraphrasing, they didn't care. And the thing I thought that was most beautiful about her testimony today is that she said, you know, Alicia read how deadly it's been inside ICE detention, inside the federal detention centers for these immigrants. She said that she wanted to be there because she had the privilege of speaking out for those who couldn't and were still inside the Whipple building in Minneapolis, going through under the thumb of this largest mass deportation campaign in American history. And what was made very clear today, not that it's any better at all, but that American citizens are being rounded up, subject to abuse. Ms. Martinez was charged with a crime that was later dropped. There were other people that testified today that were charged with a crime that were later dropped, yet they went through all of this anyway. And that's what's playing out on the streets of the United States to American citizens today in the name of mass deportation.
I think there are a lot of people who listened to what happened today on Capitol Hill and have an increased frustration with members of Congress who think it is going to be enough to tinker on the margins, to talk about training, instead of to really reckon with just how broken this system is, these institutions are. You have been crystal clear from the beginning. You have been screaming from mountaintops since the beginning of this administration. So I want to give you credit where credit is due. And tomorrow you are taking action. Tell me about the piece of legislation that you're bringing to the floor and why you think these marginal changes are not enough to actually effect change.
Alicia, this is not a training problem. The guy that executed, the agent that executed Alex had years under ICE with training. The reality is that the agency under Department of Homeland Security was created to have qualified immunity in the name of protecting us from domestic terrorism. We created this agency. Before 2003, we didn't have ICE. They didn't operate the way they do. What you're seeing CBP agents do in interior cities like Chicago, like Minnesota, they have been doing to immigrants for a very long time, except there were no phones or whistles to be able to protect them. This is exactly why we have to stop talking about basic reforms. Or, Christine, I'm talking about body cameras that they're not going to release footage for. Marimar is demanding for footage to show what they did to her. The point is we need to melt ICE. We can't talk about a reform of basics. The people are demanding we stop the killing of people, the abduction of children. My bill will prohibit detention, the monitoring you're seeing, and redirect the money that they're using, the billions of dollars, to put back into the communities that have been most impacted. That, to me, is where we need to be. That's where the American people are. And shame on Congress if we continue to talk about some basic little reform here and there, while our own people, our own Marimars, our own Silverios, our own Keith Porters are dying under our watch.
You know, Congresswoman, I do think you make a very important point here, and I've talked to a lot of Democratic elected officials, particularly in the House and the Senate, who say, "Oh no, it's not abolish ICE. We just, want to rein them in." And in listening to this hearing today, it struck me that if the FBI, if agents in the FBI were walking around this country indiscriminately shooting Americans, snatching them up, right, in the name of what they were supposed to be doing in terms of law enforcement, I would hope that Congress would say, hey, Kash Patel, what's going on? And if Kash Patel could not rein in what was going on in his organization, I would hope everyone would say, oh, well, okay, Pam, what you gonna do? And give Pam some time to get it done. I'm talking about the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. And the event that Pam Bondi could not get it done, Congress, because they have the power of the purse, okay, would say, well, it seems as though that you are either unwilling or unable to rein in this organization within your agency. So because of that, we as Congress, we're just not going to fund them until further notice. And we're going to take back the money we have appropriated until we decide you all are ready to be funded. To me, Americans are being snatched up in the streets. People, children are being detained. Like, I want the people to be in my email tonight asking me, why am I yelling? I'm yelling because this is insane. So what the hell are Democrats doing? I'm very glad the hearing happened today. The hearing only happened because of Democrats. But this is not a training issue. The agency has a problem, and Secretary Noem seems unable to address the issue. So Congress has to address it.
That's exactly right. And look, I have said since April, I was the very first member of Congress to call for her resignation. I don't care if she resigns, if Trump fires her, or she's impeached. We need further accountability after she's impeached, by the way. But the point is, you can get rid of her and put Tom Homan, the corrupt leader, the border czar who's taken thousands of dollars in bribes. It's not going to change if you just start swapping people. The system itself is rotten, and the American people are yelling and asking Congress, what the hell are you going to do to keep me alive in this precise moment? They're shackling black and brown bodies around the country, and instead of putting a stop, you're going to minimize our pain to say, well, if we do a little bit more training, but we'll still give them more money. How do you possibly sleep at night knowing that your own constituents are living in fear? Liam is back home, but Steven Martinez, an autistic boy in my district, an 8th grader, has been in detention for 6 weeks, very sick, in a facility right now that has an outbreak of measles. We cannot continue to justify this. And I think, Simone, the people are demanding for Congress to stop worrying about what a DC consultant is telling them and do their damn job.
Yeah, and I think Congressman Castro going and getting Liam was a very big deal, and it really did show as if someone was doing something on TV, yeah. and people rallied towards it. Jacob, quickly here, 2025, the deadliest year on ICE for record. You've done an incredible job reporting on these stories, talking about the impact that these detentions make on not only those who are rounded up, but also families. I want to read this from here. Folks who got killed in 2025 from ICE. They died of seizure and heart failure, stroke, respiratory failure, tuberculosis, or suicide. Some died at ICE detention centers and field offices. Others after they'd been transferred to hospitals, but they were still under ICE custody. In some cases, their families and lawyers have alleged they died of neglect after repeatedly trying and failing to get medical care. So here we are in the United States, richest country in the world, And people who are rounded up, sometimes, or even American citizens, sometimes they have an open asylum claim, they're left to die.
I would say it's not just in ICE custody also, Luke. I just want to remind everybody of the story of Nori Santai Ramos that we brought to you on this network at the beginning of this operation in the summer of 2025. Nori was an AP honor student, a track star at the Miguel Contreras Learning Complex here in Los Angeles. She went for a routine immigration check-in with her mother, Estela. Here in LA, they were deported to Guatemala, a place Nori hadn't been to since she was a little kid. And Nori says they deported her mom without her medication. And just weeks after we went to visit both of them in Guatemala, Estela Ramos died, leaving Nori, who hadn't been in Guatemala since she was a child, alone without her mother. So we talked about 32, I think is the number that you cited. There's one more, and I guarantee you if there's an Estela, there are more Estelas out there. And the killings of Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy are not the only ones as well. Remember, immigrants have died during these operations in the field, too, whether it was someone in Oxnard, California falling off of a roof or a migrant running across the 210 freeway away from the Border Patrol after being chased from a Home Depot. This is much more wide scale than we're talking about and that people really understand, and that's why it's time to pay attention.